Welcome to the first episode of The Path. So today I have an extraordinary guest. He is a global fitness champion winning almost $100,000. You might recognize him on The Bachelor, and he is a model, a writer, and a biohacker who's actually publishing his book soon. Thomas Malucelli, or some people say Maluceli.
It's all about the hands. Maluceli.
It's all about that hands, that's it.
I love it. Thank you for the intro, brother.
No problems. It's quite funny because I saw you the other day at the Chicken and Chips Q&A. And I just remember just thinking a few days before, I was like, you know what? I haven't seen Thomas in a while. And I was just walking past and I just see you walking towards me. And it's like I manifested into intuition, right? And I bumped into you. We sat down. We were actually watching the Q&A. And I just remember we had to speak with the other actresses. And I remember you were talking to 3 actresses. And then I was talking to mine. And she was like, shh, I recognize that guy. I don't know where. I was like, oh, he's in The Bachelor. And I go to try and talk and shh, and listen to the handsome guy talk.
That is so funny. And I love how coincidence or synchronicities, you're literally put next to the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, call it manifestation, call it visualization, but I guess we're both on the path to deliver extraordinary stories and experiences for people. And I think the universe just puts you together with the right person at the right time, like that night at the casting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's extraordinary. It's funny because I see you talk a lot, especially back in the day when I first met you, down when you were doing isogenics. And you spoke a lot about vision boards, manifestation, visualization. So what is your process in order for you to be able to get into that state, for you to manifest and then do your vision board and then to visualize?
Yeah, good question. I am so passionate about manifesting because, I used to be your typical dude who, back in the day, if you told me about manifestation or meditation or breath work, I would have been like, F that shit. It's a bunch of bullshit. I don't believe in it. And then obviously I got into personal development and I kept hearing about, you got to believe in yourself, and it's all about visualization, and it's all about becoming the person that can attract that thing. And so I'm a massive believer in manifestation because I've attracted some incredible things in my life. But when it comes to manifesting, to me, essentially, it's nothing woo-woo. It's simply believing in yourself. And so I bring it down to getting clarity on what it is that you want to attract in your life, whether it's, a better relationship or a good career, business opportunity, more abundance, more money, whatever it is, getting clarity on what you want, why you want it, and then specifically becoming the person that can attract that. So, a lot of people think, oh, you just, if you want to manifest, it's all about, thinking about what you want to attract and then saying out some affirmations or incantations, and you're suddenly going to have that thing in your bedroom or next to you. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. You got to put some action towards it as well. So step 1, always getting clarity. And this is probably the most important thing ever, because when you get clarity, you are in the present moment. You are spending time with yourself, with your feelings. And, when you ask yourself a specific question, so I always differentiate it with the what and the why. If I ask you some what questions, like what do you want, then you're going to give me potentially an answer that is quite a light answer. But the moment you ask yourself why you want that thing, then something happens in your brain where you logically start to you want to seek the answer to why you want it, and it becomes something that's more connected to your heart. And so getting clarity, asking yourself questions to why you want that, and then having a map on what steps you can take every day to ensure that you have that in your life. And so whatever that may be, put it down, note it down, and then every day acting like that person.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true because when I was at a young age, I think I was about 14 years old at the time, and I was introduced to The Secret.
Yes.
And I just remember watching it, and I don't know why. It's when the genie spoke, I kind of went through this unique experience. So I actually started writing all my goals down on what I want to achieve in wrestling. So I wrote every single competition down, put it away, and then I just stuck to training. And every day I went to training, I knew I was progressing forward. And over time, I was competing in all those competitions until 8 to 10 years later, I competed at the Commonwealth Games. And I just remember looking back and thinking, wow, I remember writing this down, taking the action, and now it's reality. And it's crazy once you're there and actually experiencing those moments where you put all your blood, sweat, and tears, and sometimes there's moments of doubt, but you're always willing to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
How bad do you want it, right?
exactly. Exactly. And I don't know, I feel as well like meditation has helped a lot in terms of the working on the process and visualizing what you'd like to achieve, what would it feel like, who you'd be talking to, but not being too attached to the outcome as well. So it's like a juggling act altogether. So what is your meditation practice do you do on a regular basis?
I love meditation these days. It's one of the things that grounds me. My practice these days is actually really simple. I follow an app called Open. I'm an ambassador for them. And every morning I just open the app, and it's usually 10-15 minutes of a guided meditation. Every day there's like usually a different objective that we follow, or a different topic. And for me, meditation is just a moment where I sit, and it's a moment where I calm my nervous system. And it's a moment where I set my intentions. Before I was using the app, it was just a 10-15 minutes of usually silence or gong music. And why I got really into meditation, and again, going back to the dude that was like, that's all a bunch of bullshit, was when I discovered the science about what happens in your brain with brain waves. And they gave me this example of how we usually operate with alpha waves and beta waves, alpha being the flow state and beta being the fight or flight mode. And so most people, wake up in the morning, scull a coffee, drive the car to work, get on the train, wake up, see notifications on the emails, and it's just like chaotic fight or flight mode. When you're in fight or flight mode, usually it's when you start to attract diseases in your life. You start to attract anxiety, depression, like all the things that aren't serving us. The moment that you step from beta waves into alpha, which is the flow state, you're going to start to attract more abundance, more love, more of anything that you want. And so when it just clicked, and I was like, wow, I never want to be in beta. I want to be in alpha every single time. And so for me, meditation is always that reset where I'm like, okay, I'm waking up. I'm deciding how I want to show up during the day. And I set myself up every single morning to be that person, to be calm, to be someone who is in charge of my emotions. And, if there's moments during the day where I'm feeling a little bit anxious, or if something happens, then I just choose to sit for another couple of minutes or 5 minutes, and I take myself back from being to beta into alpha again.
That's awesome. And what do you feel was the book that helped you realize this with beta waves, alpha waves, and etc.?
So this was actually taught to me by my meditation teacher. His name is Mr. Wolf, Leonard. He's incredible. I did like a whole course with him. Really, really good. But the book before that was a book by Wayne Dyer called The Power of Intention. And Wayne Dyer is an amazing teacher, guru, mentor in the realm of mindfulness. And the book just opened up this whole new perspective of, learning how to operate at a heart level, not from an ego perspective. And I became a new person. It was almost like the initiation of my spiritual awakening back then.
That's amazing. And for you that don't know, that Thomas was my first interview back in 2020 with my friend Juliano Gonzalez. And to see how much he's grown since then is remarkable. You can see how much work he's putting in, and you can see and feel his presence when he walks into the room. It's completely different to when I first met him.
Thank you. I look at those videos of back in 2020 and I'm like, sugar, you have changed, and change is good.
Absolutely. But you do appreciate those steps, right?
Yes.
Like even though we cringe, like I know doing acting now, when I first did my first self test, I cringed. But now, as progressing forward into the acting world, you start to enjoy the craft of it and you start to feel more relaxed,
Yes,
which is absolutely amazing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know recently you've been on The Bachelor. So, what was your overall experience being on the show? Because I know this time they had three bachelors, right? So, what was their purpose behind that?
When I first got the phone call that they offered me the opportunity, it was almost like a big yes straight away. I thought to myself, hell's yeah, like I can go on television and I am potentially going to get a platform. So for me, it was almost like, all this work I've been doing in regards to creating experiences for people can probably be seen by a bigger audience. And so it was a big yes straight away. And then I thought to myself, I'm going to be stepping out of my comfort zone. How cool, I'm all about it. And then potentially even find my person on the show. So it was like a yes, 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 yes. I didn't quite think about what could have happened on television or anything like that. It was just like, if the universe opens this door for me, I'm gonna walk straight through it. So had no doubt, and I did it. It was an interesting experience because you're talking about very vulnerable moments and intimate moments with women on the show, and then you're seen by the whole nation. So to adjust to it was quite tricky at the beginning. I remember being very nervous and sweating at some points, but then I got really used to it. And it was wild. It was really wild. Like, it taught me so much. I learned a lot about myself, about relationships. To give an example, being really vulnerable here, like I was so sure that I was ready to find a partner, but then I actually wasn't. I had a bit of a fear of commitment that is still within me. I ended up choosing someone who we weren't compatible at all. But by me choosing this person, I chose like the easy way. And so then when the show ended, I was like, why did I make this decision? And I dig deep and I was like, okay, because there's still some parts within yourself that need healing. And this person was just mirroring exactly the work that you still need to do. And so, to cut a long story short, it was a fantastic experience. It gave me some great exposure. I met some incredible people, met some awesome women. And I got to do some personal development work on myself. So it was a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Not every day you can date 10 women, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was wild.
What was like that significant moment that made you pick the final winner?
That's a really good question. So, I shared this a few times with people. Like, not many people know this, but I was actually meant to pick Lauren, and for the longest, for the last 2 weeks, I was just focused on Lauren is the one, Lauren is the one, Lauren is the one. And then my mum came on the show, and obviously I trust my mum so much. And Lauren didn't quite open up that much because she had also this fear of commitment. She was mirroring exactly who I was. And so she met my mum, and then Leah, who I chose, also met my mum. Leah was ready for the relationship. And so Leah was like all open, committed. My mum saw this side of Leah. And when I asked her, so mum, what do you think? Like, who do you think is the one for me? She was like, without a doubt, it's Leah, because Leah was ready and Lauren was still reserved. And so my mum confused me a bit. And then the morning of the finale, I remember it was 6 a.m. in the morning. We were driving towards the location, and the producer calls me and she's like, who you gonna choose? And I said to her, I don't know. I actually do not know. And we broke it down in the car. And then there was something that I said, which was, I always feel at home when I'm with Leah. And so she's like, you know what? Go with this feeling then. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose Leah. And so I chose Leah the very last day. And obviously I don't regret my choice, but it was a pretty significant decision that I made. And I did it because Leah was ready she was ready to jump in the relationship. She was ready to move to Sydney. She was interested in having kids. And I just opted for the easy choice. And then I realized that we were not compatible whatsoever. We were two complete different people, and it's obviously fine in a relationship, but I realized that once there were no cameras and microphones on us, there was just no real vision for the future. There was no alignment. And so that was a pretty good growth stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been. And like, especially being around cameras all the time, like it would bring up a lot of different emotions that isn't true from when you're away from the cameras. And how did you feel working with a lot of the producers, if they were ADs, and how were your relationships like with them?
Great. I had so much fun with them. Like I managed to form some really good relationships with my producer, with some of the directors. Beautiful, beautiful people. I mean, it's a very dynamic world, and I feel like you start to create like a small family when you're in the proximity of them for like, many, many hours every day. So I really enjoy the time with them.
That's awesome. And for anyone that's willing to try The Bachelor or Married on First Sight, what would your advice be for them?
I think go for it. Like it's one of those things that, could potentially happen to you once in a lifetime to go national TV. If you have good intentions, just go for it. My biggest advice, I know it might sound a bit cliche, but it's true. It's just be yourself. Like, be unique, use your quirks, use your weirdness. And that's going to be what people are going to resonate and relate to whilst they watch you on television. For example, I remember when I first went on the show, like I was myself for 70% of the time. But I remember, I was having these conversations, and before I would speak out in the microphone, I would think, fuck, I'm going to be watched by the whole of Australia. And so I want to really filter what I say. And so before I even talked, I had filtered the words and conversation in my head. And so I wasn't fully myself. I was holding back. So if I would do a show again, I would just go fully into it, full send, just being my most authentic self.
That's amazing. Especially now you have a different type of confidence, especially being on camera all day, every day for like 2 months straight. It changes you completely.
It does. Yeah, you would know that.
And I just want to say congratulations on your new relationship.
Thank you.
So tell me how you found this beautiful woman in your life, and now where are you guys at this relationship?
Thank you. Yeah, Georgia's my unicorn, and funnily enough, I say that I didn't find my soulmate on Bachelor, but Georgia has her own podcast called Live Chats, and she interviewed me one day last year because of the show, and we were just talking like me and you, and we just had this like awesome chemistry, and it's been the most incredible relationship. Like talk about manifesting and talking about getting clarity. I spent many years healing, and then I spent lots of time dating as well, dating many girls, and then I realized that I wasn't attracting the person that I really wanted. And I remember being so frustrated because I was like, I've got so much to give. I know exactly what I want. And my guy friends, my mates were like, Thomas, you're too picky. And I'm like, I'm not too picky. I've just got, I guess I have proof that person exists, and I want to find her, and I want to find her. And so I remember spending one night getting clarity on who I wanted, writing this letter to my future soulmate and, the qualities that she had. And then I just wrote it down. I felt it, left it there. And then, here comes Georgia. And we did this, we had a phone call a few weeks ago, and she showed me the letter that she wrote to her future soulmate, and I showed her mine. And I kid you not, like every single thing I wrote on the letter, she is, to the point where I even guessed the color of her hair, of her eyes. And I'm just so blessed, really, really blessed.
Wow.
I feel like, it's one of those love stories that everybody wants. And I'm just so grateful and lucky to be living it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite funny, especially like in times we get frustrated. Why aren't we receiving this gift, or why aren't we meeting our significant other? It does get frustrating, but I found like there's a common trait where the saying is there's a reason why Santa delivers presents at night. It's usually through your darkest times of frustration, he tests you to see if you're ready. And if you're ready, you're able to receive what you need and what you want.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. One of my favorite quotes is, stop looking for your soulmate, start looking for your soul mate.
Yeah.
And so I am a big believer that before you go out there into the world and find your soulmate, you have to heal your soul, because we attract energetically who we are internally. And so, our thoughts, our beliefs, our identity, That makes who we are. And so if we think that we're not good enough, if we think that we're not worthy, if we think that we're not lovable, we're going to attract people who are going to be mirroring all of those insecurities in our face. We're going to attract people who are going to be projecting what we need to heal inside of us. And so I see so many people out there who just really want to be loved, they want to be accepted, and they will do anything for their partner, and they would always put their partner or their potential partner first. But the moment that you start to put yourself first, the moment you start to like practice some self-love and, you know, some self-worth work, then that's when you're going to truly become the person who can attract the one. And so it really does all start by, you know, how they call it self-work, because it's you.
Yes.
It starts with you.
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of brings me back to what Tony Robbins says, like the two deepest fears is one, we believe we are not enough. Two, the fear that we're not going to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And for that person who is struggling right now and doesn't know how to give themselves that self-love, what path do they should start to be able to go through that journey to be potentially finding their soulmate?
Great question. So many things. I always say the moment that you ask yourself the question of what should I do, intuitively, in a gut feeling, you know already. Like the moment you know exactly what you need to do. And so follow that. You know, a lot of the times it might be as simple as starting to taking care of yourself, like looking after your mind, body, and spirit. Like once you look after your physical health, then you're going to start to have more confidence. You're going to start to make healthier choices. You're going to start to hang out with friends that are better for your soul and for your mind and for your spirit. And so really taking it back to basics, like looking after yourself physically and mentally, finding hobbies that you're passionate about. A lot of the times I've noticed that we can make some silly decisions when we're bored and lonely. But if we occupy our time doing things that we're passionate about, hobbies, sports, wellness classes, I don't know, music, arts, weekend hobbies, then we suddenly start to feel very fulfilled. And then we're going to be in the proximity of people who also love doing the same thing. And then that could give you the chance of meeting the right person. So again, taking it back to yourself, like doing those things that you know are going to fill your cup, and then they're going to help you vibrate at the frequency to where you want to attract whatever is up there, your person, opportunity, career, money, love.
I love that. And funny fact, before we did this interview, I was reading a book called, I don't know if you read it, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
Yes.
So what is your love language? 1, words of affirmation. 2, quality time. 3, receiving gifts. 4, acts of service. Or 5, touch.
Yes. My love languages, I'm a bit of everything apart from gifts, but I would say my top one is words of affirmation. And my second one is in between acts of service and physical touch. So that's how I appreciate being loved. So, you can, top one, words of affirmation. So if you as my partner, shower me with like beautiful words and make me feel loved, seen, appreciated, I melt on the floor. And that's me feeling really satisfied. After that, I really enjoy acts of service. When people go out of their way to do small things that can really help you during the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game-changing book, that is. Did you like it?
Oh, I was like, once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down.
What are yours?
Struggled. I feel obviously first is affirmations, followed by, I always love the physical touch because I like just being there with the person to be able to connect, followed by service.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think even in the Bible, or even like in books I've read, the greatest form of authority is service, to serve, right? And in relationships, from what you've experienced, we love to serve each other for us to grow as individuals as well as a couple and be able to become one flesh. And that's why I love what it said on the first one, which is the affirmations.
Yes.
It really connected with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my biggest take on love languages when I first read the book a few years ago. I think anybody listening, by the way, if you haven't read it, read it. If you're in a relationship, but also if you're not, to prepare yourself for one. it's great to know that, my love language can be words of affirmation, and I'm really good at gassing people up and encouraging people, or I appreciate life and people straight away. I tell them. But then if my partner's love language is gifts, or if it's physical touch, like, my words are not going to cut it for her. So I got to learn what her love language is to make her feel loved and seen.
Yes.
And so if my partner is all about physical touch, like, I'm going to go home, I'm going to cuddle her, I'm going to give her massages very spontaneously, I'm going to massage her feet, I'm going to be always on her. Or if she loves gifts, I'm going to surprise her with, like, not like crazy gifts, but like just like a coffee every now and then or every day, some little letters, buy her something little. Because obviously I want to make sure that my partner is always feeling seen and appreciated. So I think it's really key to read the book and understand what your closest people's love language is, so you can help them feel fulfilled.
No, I love that. And I noticed the other day, you and your partner write each other love letters.
Yes.
And I found that was quite cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually her that does it. She's.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I sent her one, but it was she's every week while we're doing long distance, she's sending me like one letter, and it's the most beautiful thing. She makes me cry every time.
Wow, that's incredible. I don't know, something about writing things on paper becomes so much more meaningful compared to if you're just typing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you define is a successful relationship in your opinion?
Ooh, okay. This is a really good question. Successful relationship is a relationship that is built on common values. It's a relationship that, even though you don't have common values, you respect each other's values. And it's a relationship that you establish like really good communication. There's a vision for the future. There's growth, and there's so much trust and commitment towards one another.
Yeah, I can really connect with that. And I can't remember, I think it was either the book Seduction or 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And he was speaking about how a lot of couples today, when they spend time with each other, like, you could be spending 5 hours with your missus or your significant other, but if you're on your mobile or just watching TV, you're not presently there with your partner, compared to if you're busy throughout the day and you only have that 1 hour to spend with them, but you spend with them in present moment. It makes a big difference.
Yes.
I found.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think of it this way. I think of it as we have different soulmates for every level of our journey, right? And then it gets to the point where if we're blessed to have the awareness of doing the work to elevate our soul, we then end up with the soulmate who appreciates us for who we are. And then we want to spend the rest of our days with this person. And so, I mean, apart from being grateful for having this person who sticks beside us and wants to do life with us and wants to experience life, I am honored, and I'm never ever going to take this person for granted, because the moment that you take someone for granted, the magic kind of starts to dissolve. And so I want to get to know everything about my person, like, what makes her tick, her biggest fears, how her brain works, and, her passions, how she wants to adventure around the world, and just being able to have that zest and maintain that flame always nice and alive. And so, yeah, I do believe that when you're spending time with your person, obviously it's not always going to be the same, but allocating time where you can just really dive deep and ask some meaningful, deep questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find a lot of people hold expectations in relationships that can ruin it?
Yeah, I think so. Going back to Tony Robbins, like one of the things that I learned at one of his seminars was start trading expectations with appreciation. And so when you start to expect from your partner, but you start to appreciate all the things that they do for you on a daily basis, you really start to change. Like, gratitude can become a real superpower. And we often just take time to celebrate the big victories or the big events, but we forget to appreciate your partner for the coffee that they made you or bought you this morning. And so one of the things that me and Georgia do, for example, is every single day, whether we're together or not, we take time to write or say to each other thank yous. So it's usually like a 2-minute exercise each, where we just say, thank you for all the small things that we noticed that we did for each other on the day. And it's so powerful because it brings it down to gratitude, appreciation. I notice all the small things that she likes doing to me and vice versa. And you just never, ever take your partner for granted.
Man, that's like so beautiful. I've been like fasting for about 22 days now because I'm trying to hit 40 days of fasting. And one of the biggest reflections that I've had in this entire time was how entitled we believe we are. We feel we're entitled for certain things in a relationship rather than actually appreciating it. And you obviously fast yourself. What kind of feelings do you have when you go through the process of actually fasting with your emotions?
You're fasting, is your 22nd day today, you said?
22nd day.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Water and coffee?
No, I break fast once a day. So I eat food at around 7:30 every day.
So 1 meal a day?
Yeah, 1 meal a day. And most days I don't drink water until the sun is down.
Wow.
So
Love it.
yeah,
Biohacking. Boom.
yeah, that's it. You have a whole different experience, I feel.
Yeah. My experience with fasting has been one that has been quite spiritual. Food grounds you. And so whenever you feel bored, lonely, angry, sad, what do? You eat. Because that grounds it and makes you forget about what you're feeling. When you're not eating, you are faced with all of those feelings and you gotta fucking sit with them. And it's uncomfortable. And that's when you tune in and realize that, okay, what's my body trying to tell me here? Or what's this thing I'm feeling? Why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling sad? Why am I bored right now? Am I horny? Oh no, I think I'm just bored. And so you get to really sit with your feelings, understand how you operate. And it's been a game changer for me because on a spiritual level, like it really has helped me understand who I am at the core. No distractions. Food obviously is it's energy, it's nutrition, nourishment, we need it. But when you fast with the intention of obviously longevity, but also on a spiritual level, it really opens up so many doors.
That is so true. And I feel as well like when you go through that fasting period, you realize how much you rely on food to escape. Or big thing is watching porn. I think that's a problem a lot of people have. And I feel that's another big thing that's actually ruining relationships.
Yeah.
Because you have a certain expectation from what you see on the screen compared to what you have in reality. And have you ever had that experience where you got stuck in the rut of watching porn, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, porn is actually a big one for me. Like I've opened up about porn a few months ago, and I used porn for a long time to, what's the word? Release, I guess. Yeah. And it got to the point where it was a habit for me to release most days. And sometimes I chose to actively pursue porn as opposed to being intimate with my partner, to the point where I was more comfortable masturbating than having sex with my partner, one of my ex-partners. And that caused me the slippery slope of being avoidant when it came to intimacy and just really leaning into the feeling of comfort in self-pleasuring me. Didn't know at the time, but the problems there were that because I got used to porn for so long, I had this false expectation of what sex was. And so I imagined that, I was treating the girls like the guys do on porn movies. I was imagining always like perfect bodies and perfect positions. I was imagining always being perfectly erected, which that's a fairy tale. It doesn't happen. Most actors are taking, Viagra or whatever they use.
Even steroids.
Steroids. Yeah, I heard they inject it in their penis.
That's right.
Yeah, wow. No wonder they. Yeah. But that was a big one. And then I remember, obviously, when you're in a conscious relationship where intimacy is what you're seeking, to get to the point where you become intimate with your partner, I don't know about you, but you have to find that space where you start to connect on a mental level. And so I was avoiding that because I didn't want to connect with people. I just wanted to like have my release. And so porn was perfect for that. And because of that, I was unable to connect with my partners. And so I would always like avoid it. And lastly, yeah, just this false expectation of what sex was. And so when I read some articles about the negative effects of porn, and I realized that I also had this anxiety when it came to sex back in the day. I couldn't get an erection that I was proud of. I thought there was something wrong with me, but it was just my anxiety kicking in before I actually started to be intimate with a girl. And it was all caused by porn. And it took lots of work for me to become who I am today and just release all of those negative habits.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And I recently actually listened to an audio book called Your Brain on Porn. And it's funny that once we go through that loophole of watching it, it starts to become more extreme. And you start venturing into different paths that you usually wouldn't go. And it's harder for you to get erections because you need that extreme porn experience in order to be satisfied. And I feel it just ruins your relationship. It ruins your speech. It ruins you from being present in the moment and a lot of other things. Like I feel it does a lot of damage to the brain.
It does, yeah. I think for any man that's listening to this and is perhaps thinking, gosh, I have a porn addiction, or is thinking, gosh, perhaps my sex life with my partner isn't the best. What really has helped me was like just going literally cold turkey with the porn, and then having like a meaningful, honest conversation with your partner, letting them know what's been going on. And then I would also suggest having some conversations about sex, about expectations, about what you need in a relationship to feel fulfilled sexually. What are your deepest fantasies? Because let's face it, your partner wants you to be happy, and you want to also fulfill your partner's desires. But most of the times in relationships, what I see happens is that, again, people get complacent. They don't have the skill or sometimes the courage to ask what they actually want. And then often people will go and get that elsewhere. And that's why I see people that start cheating, because they don't have the courage to actually ask something to their partner. When if you have a conversation about what you're expecting and what you want and what you desire, your partner will be like, fuck yeah, let's go, let's do it. Like, I want us to be in this like mad, deep, loving relationship. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel a lot of people out there as well, they're lacking that emotional love rather than just intimacy. Because once you're in that relationship, you can get intimacy whenever you want, but not a lot of people connect in that emotional level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
It is. And we're living in an era now where there is body counts, cheating, avoidance in relationships. If you had these experiences in your life, what would you do to overcome it?
So say if I cheated, or
If you cheated, or if you're avoiding your significant other,
yeah.
how would you be able to fix the relationship, or should you end the relationship and move on?
Good question. I think that obviously if you have experiences where you're cheating, that's very heavy because it breaks the integrity of the relationship. And you might never come back from being able to do the work it takes to repair the relationship. However, if you both want it really, really badly, if you understand that you have done that because of a lack of communication or fulfilling each other's desires, I think there can definitely be some work that can be done to get you back to the same space. So an honest conversation, honestly, I take it back to being honest, being authentic, and understanding that, yes, you have fucked up, you have broken the trust of your partner, but it was because you didn't have the tools and you were going through something that at the time you didn't know, and you were doing the best of what you knew. And so I take it back to having a conversation on what happened. I call them like a deeper date. So it's a deeper date on understanding the problem or the issue that's coming up, and then finding middle ground and coming out of it with a solution. And it can be a solution of, okay, we're going to work on this. I think we really want to do this because we care so much about each other. Or sometimes it can be, you know what, I don't feel ready to do this with you. Like the trust that has been broken, the magic isn't here anymore. I think that we should move on. There's a fantastic book called 8 Dates by the Gottmans, and it takes couples on these 8 dates where you discuss trust and commitment, sex, money, finances, big dreams, spirituality. And the intention of the book is to really get you talking about these things that you normally wouldn't ask each other. And so if I was at a point where that had happened in my relationship, I would get that book and I would go on these dates with my partner.
I love that. I feel that's a lot of things we are lacking nowadays, is that even though we might have been dating for 2 or so years, eventually a lot of them stop going on dates to just stay at home, and they start to get aggressive towards each other because they just can't handle each other's breath. They can't handle the old sarcasm like they once had, that connection. And it's quite sad when you think about it, like where a lot of people should be able to, like you said, go out on dates, talk, and try to figure out ways like therapy, for example. I think therapy is a great way to talk things out and really understand each other as men and women, right? Because we are two different creatures, and sometimes we think we know what the other person's feeling, but we truly don't unless we speak about it.
Yeah. From experience, from being in it, and also from talking to a few couples, that's something that happens once you start letting go of the foot on the pedal being your passion, love, and commitment for the relationship, and when you become complacent. And so usually for women, it's called the 3 U's. When women start to feel unseen, unloved, and unappreciated, they lock up, and then they're not open anymore towards the life that could be. And for men, it's the 3 C's. So when men feel criticized, controlled, or confined, then they also stop giving to the relationship. And so when that happens, it's all about going back to the basics, like going back to appreciating your partner, being grateful for your partner, doing the small things, telling them how, how much they mean to you. And then going back to, what are we doing right now? Like, what is our vision for the future? But you are right. So many people just fall into that trap of like, okay, you know what? Let's just sit on the couch and do nothing. That's not so much of a relationship. It's more of having a housemate.
So true. And it's kind of sad to see some people just fall apart.
But I guess it's I'm grateful for these conversations, because when I went through with my partner, like I went through it all, and I was like, far out, like I'm with this beautiful, beautiful person. I love her so much. I could see her for being the love of my life, the mum of my kids. We could eventually get married, but we just resented each other, and I didn't know why. We stopped having sex, and as a man, I thought to myself after a year of not having sex, I was like, you know what, this is getting ridiculous. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna grab her and I'm gonna be a man and I'm gonna tell her how much I love her, how much I desire her, and I'm gonna have sex with her. Then I would come home, and because she was so closed up and in her masculine and didn't trust me, I just couldn't do it. And I didn't have the tools that I have today to unpack what was going through. And so I'm grateful for these podcasts, because if any person is listening, then they can, grab the book or go to the seminar, go and do therapy, and actually then unpack what's happening and potentially fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's so true. And I feel another big thing that is a big issue, people settling down for what they can get rather than finding that significant other that they are like soulmates and they deserve to be with that person. They feel they can complement each other. What do you feel about that?
Like complimenting or completing?
Completing each other.
Yeah, I never believed in that. Like as I said before, like I was making myself mad. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna settle until I find my person. And I take it back again to people not having the self-love and self-worth that they can fully have. And so when you're wanting that person to complete you as opposed to complement you, then you just settle for things that, yes, could be good, but aren't great. And we live in a world as well today, which is very interesting because we've got so many options, so many dating apps
That's so true.
and dating clubs, run clubs, and
Body counts.
Yes, and there's so many options out there, but so many adults are still single, and so it just makes me wonder, what are we really looking for?
Yeah, definitely. What's your opinion on like body counts? Because I see that's becoming quite a trend where people are just counting it and they're just sharing it with one another rather than actually just embracing relationships.
I take it back to I have a concept that I came up with in my book actually, and I called it the fear of missing out when it comes to dating. And so because we're exposed with so much choice and potential. Like we could be going on a date right now, we have the best time, and then happened to me as well actually. I have the best time, and then I'm like, you know what? Let's go on a second date because I really vibe with you. Then I jump back in the car, and then I get my phone, I open Hinge, and I'm like, ooh, I've got like a few more likes, a few more roses. Oh, what if she's better than her? What if the sex is better? What if she's a better person? She looks a little bit prettier as well. And so that's the fear of missing out. And so you suddenly start to talk with this other girl as well, whilst you're dating potentially the first one. And then the same dynamic happens with more and more people. And so you end up like becoming someone who is in multiple relationships whilst dating. And then you get the famous body count happening.
Yeah, it's so true. And I feel a lot of like people miss the point of self-development, working on themselves first. Hence why they are always going from one person to a next, never actually settling down. They just want to sleep with as many people as they can. And they feel like they're going to find fulfillment in.
And I think that's great. Like if that's what fulfills you, do it.
Yeah.
But I wholeheartedly believe that there will come a time when you realize that doesn't fulfill me anymore. Like I want to find my person. And then that's when usually the awareness drops and that person suddenly changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say congratulations again for writing 2 books.
Thank you.
Not 1, but 2. So obviously you went through one of the chapters. Are you feeling all right to speak about more about the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So the latest one that I have written is called How to Go from Swipe to Soulmate. And I think as human beings here on this planet, sometimes we forget that our trials and tribulations become our superpowers. And so my trials and tribulations in my life have been lack of purpose, have been me becoming unhealthy, and then have been me struggling with the relationship within myself, and then struggling with finding my person. And so I was able and grateful to have done the work to become who I am today. And so my books are just a representation of what I did to become that person, with the hope of helping the person that I used to be. And so there's one on relationships, which focuses a lot on becoming the person they want to attract. And then there's lots of tips on, how to set up your dating profile. And it's called How to Go from Swipe to Soulmate, not How to Go from Swipe to a one night stand. Yes. So there's lots of like really funny but deep dynamics of work that you can do to become that person. And then the first book is called What the Fuck Am I Doing Here? Which was the question that I would ask myself every single day, because I had no idea what I was doing. I was a restaurant manager. I was earning a great income, but it drained me. I didn't like working nights. And so I was able to then really get clarity on what I wanted to do, found my purpose through the mind, body, and spirit, and I share all my tips and tactics on biohacking, on manifestation, on purpose, and spirituality. Because again, I have that vision of like, oh my gosh, I was so lost back then. If I had this book, it could have really helped me.
Oh, absolutely. And I still actually remember the time when we did that interview. You were still doing...
I was lost back then.
Yeah, you were lost. You were working in a restaurant on the weekends, from memory.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just remember like you were about to escape that as soon as COVID hit. That's when you actually went completely online, and then everything worked out for you, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that journey, where as soon as lockdown happened, what did you do to overcome it for you to be able to work online and become the person you are today?
Yeah, thank you. The way that I escaped the 9 to 5 was through network marketing. And I found this beautiful company, which I'm still aligned with today, called Isogenics. And I used it to improve my health in so many ways, build a network of people and friends. And network marketing, for those of you who don't know it, it's got this stigma of like, pyramid scheme, but it's not like that. Essentially, it gives people an option to build an online business through sharing the products and building networks of people who are either consuming them or your business partners in sharing them. And so I saw this as an opportunity to become my own boss. And initially, it was just to pay my rent. And then when COVID happened, I was like, well, I'm just going to take it on board and just go nuts with it. And I remember we, as a company, we are open in 28 countries now. And so I just locked myself in my house during lockdown. And I was just really building a team of people who were interested in either improving their health or making more money from home. And I just crushed it. In 6 months, I made 6 figures.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. It gave me so much purpose, so much clarity, so much fulfillment. And network marketing still today is like the one vehicle that really opened me up as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I got to see it. And I just want to thank you as well for all those people you introduced to us and help us build a successful podcast in the past as well.
Absolutely.
Like,
you guys rock.
Yeah, it was a cool experience being able to do 50 episodes in 30 days, interviewing your friends like Morgan and
Zach?
what's his name? Zach, Tim Grover's son.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a cool, interesting experience, especially seeing how humble he was.
Yes.
And everything wasn't just about money. It was about serving those that are looking to be able to escape 9 to 5 and live a more healthier lifestyle.
You interviewed a billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah. How good.
Yeah,
Eric.
so good. Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a good guy.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, and he was like talking highly about you on the podcast from
Good.
memory.
Thank you.
No worries. And all right, interesting question. What is one book you ever read that defines you and your life?
Good question. I would say The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It was one of the first books that I read, and still today I live by those 4 agreements, which are: be impeccable with your word, always look out for the best in people, and I forget the other 2. But incredible book. It's a really short read. It's got some great philosophies, and it really is something that we should, I think, all be implementing in our daily life. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
That's good. I have to actually read that book. I haven't read it yet.
You haven't?
No, haven't read it yet. I think the recent book I read, I don't know if you read it, Power versus Force by Dr. David L. Hawkins.
No.
It's so good. It's about levels of consciousness.
Good.
Right? From like survival instincts to acceptance to love, and then the most highest level of consciousness, which is enlightenment. And very few people
Can
have reached that. Exactly. And it's coming from a place of selflessness, where even at love, sometimes we can be selfish, but there's only very few people that can reach enlightenment.
Yeah.
And like you've seen, like they mentioned prophets, they also mentioned Jesus and all these other important figures in our life.
Yeah. I think it really comes down to like stripping away everything that's materialistic, your ego, and just becoming, I would say, love almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we all crave as humans.
Aim for.
Yeah.
The 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Like,
That's amazing.
That's a really good way of life, isn't it?
And how do you connect that with your life?
I am just someone who every morning I wake up and I just see the days and life as a chance for me to be the best version of myself, for me to go out there and just create beautiful experiences and memories for people. And I just really love to live life at the fullest, having an impact on people. And so, a lot of my friends always say, you're so happy, like, you're always so bubbly, and that's who I am. Like, I always choose to be this way. I choose to be happy. Like even this morning, like I rented a car in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago. And if anybody here ever rents cars on Turo, I recommend always getting the full protection. So I rented this car for a week, and then I scratched the bumper like ever so slightly on the front. It was a Lexus. And I got minor insurance. And then the owner of the car obviously reported me. And now because of this little scratch that could be repaired with probably $200, that he's going to change the whole bumper. And I need to pay $2,600 US.
That's ridiculous.
And I thought to myself, what the actual fuck? Like, I could have literally got myself a ticket to Europe and back. And I was like, I was upset for a bit. And I was like, I work hard for my money, but it's money. This is the universe testing me and telling me, like, you know what, there's more money coming your way. And so I was like, life is happening for me. I got upset for a few minutes, and then I won't let it affect my day.
Yeah, it's funny how the universe, or if you believe in God, tests us sometimes, and we always go through these trials to see if we are ready to receive. And I feel the choices we make actually defines our future.
Absolutely.
Right? We can be in two different paths depending on the choices we have. And I feel that's one of the greatest gifts we've been given in this universe, this world, is the ability to choose what path we want to go.
Yes, that's a really good analogy. One of my mentors taught me the formula for success versus the formula for failure. Do you know it? No?
Please explain.
It's based on the choices that you make every single day. You know, the formula for success is, you know, if you're wanting to become a certain person, if you want to, like, you know, be healthy, be in good energy, so you start to substitute the Snicker bar with an apple, you've started the process of transforming your life, formula for success. But on the contrary, if every single day you remove the apple and have the Snicker bar, every single day you go and spend money that you don't have for something, and your goal is to save money, that's a formula for failure. You know, if you might not notice it every single day for the first month, but then the compound effect of a year will get you broke, will get you fat, will get you single. And that's almost a process that can be very negative.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you just mentioned that, it reminded me of a book called The Secret of the Millionaire Mind.
T.R. Becker.
Yeah, and it's crazy how we've been speaking about this the whole podcast, that we need to be able to change our inner world in order to change our outer world. And I feel once we change what's in ourselves, we can change what's happening outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel another thing that I've been really reflecting during my fasting is we can only focus on what we can control, which is our decisions and who we can influence. Everything else, you have to put that upon the universe or God, and trusting that everything will work out according to plan.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, we've only got ourselves, and it's all about being on purpose. Like, you know, it's your life. You're the driver of the vehicle that is your life. And so when things happen externally, if you let those things affect you, they're gonna take you off route to your destination. Remembering that you're in control of what you make things mean. You know, life is empty and meaningless. It only has the meaning that you give it to it. So whatever happens in your life, you're in control of what you make it mean.
When I hear that, I just think how much of emotional creatures we are.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, there's a video on YouTube where there's a camera that just zones out, you know, country, world, globe, Earth, universe, multiple universe. And you're like, and here's me thinking that I need to pay $2,500 on my Turo. That's such a small problem.
It is.
You know?
It is, exactly. And I know, I was thinking about this the other day. It's funny, like when we visualize or we pray for certain things to happen, God or the universe, whatever you believe in, has to make the world work first, the other people align to you in order to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's amazing how we can get impatient, but we don't trust in that process where, like, we can just trust that everything's going to work out by the people meeting each other
Yeah.
in order to align you for this certain opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah,
So powerful.
it is.
The moment that you say, I am, or I want to be this version of myself, there is already a version of you in the universe like that. It's already happening. And so it's about to align yourself with the actions it's going to take to become that person, because it already exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What's the difference in between, us and Elon Musk, or, us and, what's the guy from Amazon called? Thank you.
Bezos, yeah.
Jeff Bezos. Like, they had this vision and they just got to work and made it happen.
Definitely. They're such different beasts.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, different way of thinking.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
purpose in life.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
why they are where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. And it was a pleasure doing another episode with you. And hopefully the next one, we can bring your missus in and we
Yes.
can interview her as well.
Yes, you'll love her. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Till next time.
Nice one. Nice chat.
Yeah, it was